Give us your go-to track workout that maybe some of the rest of us could emulate if we want to get a little faster.
If you want to be fast, you have to train fast.
Lane 4 and 6, Hugo Caceres, Allan Tissenbaum. Allan Tissenbaum in lead, and then comes lane 3, Ulo Randaro, Estonia, Tissenbaum, Randaro, and Shane.
Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here, and today I'm going to connect with Allan Tissenbaum, find out what makes him an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. But first, remember, if you enjoy our content, like, subscribe, and ding that bell for notifications. All right, let's begin. Allan, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Why don't you kick us off with an introduction of yourself?
I'm a 64-year-old sprinter. I've been sprinting off and on for many, many years since college. I bobsledded for a little bit of time. I'm presently an orthopedic surgeon. I last competed last year, ending off my season in the national championships.
Why don't you just give us a little brief history of your athletic endeavors over the years?
High school, I played a lot of sports. I grew up in Montreal, primarily hockey. My first track and field experience was really in second year of college. There was an opening for the track club or the track team. It was at McGill University in Montreal. And I went to sign up, and I was doing a lot of distance running that summer. So the track coach says, "What do you want to do?" There's a sign up sheet. And I signed up the 100, the 200, and the half marathon. And he looked at me like with three eyes, like, you can't do those things. It's like you do one or the other. So I was 20 years old at that point. I never run 100 before. I went to the track that day. He put his watch on. I ran 10:9. He says, "I guess you're doing the 100 and not the half marathon." And that was the beginning of my sprinting career. So I competed for 2 years at McGill. It wasn't a great track program, as we didn't have an outdoor season because Canada's pretty well winter till April, and school ended in April. Ran for 2 years, graduated from there, made the move to Toronto and trained at York University with and under Charlie Francis. Spent a year doing that and training with I was going to school there doing a master's, and the other guys were there in school, Ben Johnson, to name a few. Trained with Charlie, learned unbelievable principles from him. And then the following year, I was asked to try out for the Canadian bobsled team. I bobsledded for Canada for a year, and then I went to medical school. My track career sort of went on a little hiatus for a while.
What inspired you to get back involved in track and field, and when did you do that?
I competed a little bit in my late 20s, but it was just here hit and miss sort of thing. Wasn't anything serious. Then I had children from when I was 29, 31, 35, and they were all pretty athletic. So I was always working out. I was always stayed in shape, but I was lifting weights. I really wasn't training. And then for some reason, I decided, a friend of mine that I knew from McGill said, "Allan, I was living in Pittsburgh at that time." He says, "I'm going to run in Boston at these things called the U.S. Indoor National Track and Field Championships." He says, "Why don't you come?" I said, "Sure, I'll come." So this is how little I knew about the sport. I signed up for my first Masters meet, was national championships. And the age groups go by 5-year age groups, as most people are aware. So I signed up for my first meet. I was 39 and 11 months old. And I went to the national championships. And actually ended up winning. I won the 60. So that's that was the hook. So I competed ever since then. That was the year 2000, almost every year, aside from a whole bunch of injuries which have caused me. And that's a whole other topic. I've competed almost every year since then. I've taken some years off for injuries, had surgeries, and I've been able to train and compete as a result of that. But I competed up and through last year.
So tell us a little bit about some of those setbacks that you had.
From 2000 to 2010, 2011, I was pretty unhurt. I was able to compete, but I was working a lot. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. We take a lot of call. I was on every third weekend. I had 3 little kids. So I guess at 2 meets a year, maybe. I'd get to a nationals every other year, and I do pretty well. And I got to World Championships in 2005, did quite well there, and then sort of skipped out the next couple of years. I was still training and staying in shape, but I wasn't racing. 2010, I come back and I win nationals in the 100 and 200 for the US, 50 and over. 2011, I had some injury or sick. I can't remember what happened. I sort of took that year off. 2012, again, win the 100 and 200 nationals, and I'm feeling really good. Penn relays, setting really good times. Get into 2013, and again, feeling great. Now, because I live in Pittsburgh, there's indoor tracks. I never race indoors. I train through the winter, but I can't train at a high level because I can't do true speed work outside in the winter. So I'd rarely raced indoors, even though I do like racing indoors. 2013, I was feeling really good, ran some fast times, and was running in the nationals, won the heats, winning the finals, and destroyed my hamstring. Like it's actually on video. It's all over. People were like, love seeing it, because I went down full blast, landed on my shoulder, separated my shoulder, bruised my hand, and ruptured my hamstring like right off the bone. So that was 2013. Didn't do very much in 2014. Was trying to get back in 2015, and then we had plans to go to World Championships in 2015. I thought I'd be ready to run 100, a reasonable 100. February that year, herniated disc in my back. I said, this is like, and Worlds are in August. So I said, okay, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I know what to do with these things. Most can get by without surgery. So I'm going to tough this out. I'm not have surgery in my back. A month later, I can't walk. I can't operate. I can't do anything. So I have surgery. Now we're 4 months before Worlds, or 3.5 months before Worlds. I do my own recovery. I called one of my best friends from med school. He's a neurosurgeon. He's head of neurosurgery at Brown. And I said, on one day post-op, he goes, Allan, you can walk, just don't do anything bad. Just walking is fine. Do as much walking as you want. I said, okay, Kurt, it's day one post-op. I'm on the treadmill. I'm walking at 4.5 miles an hour at an incline. He goes, no, stop. So I go, okay, maybe I'll dial it back a little bit. But I did stuff for the next 6 weeks. I couldn't just do nothing. And I had Worlds like 2 months later. I did a lot of rowing. I just thought that might be a good exercise to do to maintain my aerobic and anaerobic fitness. I'm rowing and so that was the beginning of May. We're supposed to run in April. I mean, it's supposed to run in August. And I'm on the rowing machine and I developed this pain in my knee. No big deal. Now it's 6 weeks, I figure I can go run. So I go to the track and run, and I can't run. I'm limping all over the place. It's like May 15th now. Orthopedic surgeon. I tell one of my partners, shoot up my knee. I want to keep running. So he shoots up my knee and I still can't run. Get an MRI, I have a big meniscal tear. Get that taken care of May 25th, May 26th, somewhere around there. Worlds are August 1st. So I'm not running again. I start running again end of middle of June. And I just managed. I said, I'm just going to run 100. I'm not in shape to run a 200, go to the Worlds, run the 100, miraculously win the 100. But the funniest thing I did was I was really in the worst track shape of my life, but there was a 4x4 and I was there for the relays, which I've never been there. I've never been at Worlds for relays, and they needed someone. So I said, I'm going to run the 4. Have you run a 4 recently? Not in 15 years. But I know I can do all right. I'm just going to push through it. So I ran the 4. We won the 4x4 also. It was great. It was like a great feeling to do. I still didn't take up 400s after that. So that's gets us 2015. 2016, I go to indoor nationals, and I actually run the first indoor nationals I've been at since 2001. 60 and 100, 60 and the 200 go well. I win them both. I tweak my adductor muscle, like in my groin, going around the corner, and never really recovered that year. I ran a couple of races and didn't feel very good. 2017 comes along, feeling great. We had a lot of stuff. We had weddings overseas. We didn't really have a lot. I ran a couple of races. I ran like I didn't run the US championships, but I ran the North American championships, the combined meet. Did well there, won the 100 and 200, ran some good times. Getting ready for 2018, feeling pretty good. Go to US nationals again, run the fastest times in the world by like 2/10 in the 100, half a second in the 200, 4 weeks before nationals. But I didn't like my 200 time. I wanted to be faster. So I come back from nationals and I go right back in the track. Boom, boom, boom. 3 days later, tore my right hamstring right off again, right off the bone, done. So again, being an orthopedic surgeon, I know the team doctor for the Steelers, and he's doing PRP. So I said, let's do PRP on my hamstring, see what I can do. I get 3 PRP shots. We were going to Worlds anyways. Our tickets were paid. So I said, I'm just going to go run the heats just for fun, because I have my friends there. I ran the heats. I made the semifinals, but I had no speed. So that was the end of that. Takes us to 2019. I tore that winter. I tore a tendon in my foot, the tendon on top of my toe. And basically since then, so 2020 comes around, COVID, and then I started getting healthy again. And the last 3 years have been, in terms of performance, have been some of the best performances of my lives, comparatively.
Mhm.
Like I had the world's best time for the 62-year-old 100 and the 63-year-old 100 over everyone's times. The same thing in the 60 and stuff. However, my back from my previous back surgeries have continued to deteriorate. And last summer when I was running, I'd be able to run a race. I'd run the 100, but I couldn't walk back. It would take me, I'd run the 100 in 11 seconds. And it would take me 15 minutes to walk back because my back was bad. I was literally to the point where, wasn't going to run any more 200s because of that. I mean, I got the senior games the last 2 years and I won the senior games last year in a couple of the events, but I couldn't really walk. We got to the point where when the season ended, I couldn't walk around the block. I couldn't walk 400 meters. I can walk. At that point, I was walking 150, 200 meters and having to stop because I have this very deteriorated back. And I sort of said, like, I'm not sure this is worth it anymore. So I've been on hiatus since then. The good news is I can walk again. I can walk like 3, 4, 5 miles at a time now, which I couldn't do at all. I had a hard time even working. Like my work's not physical compared to like someone swinging a sledgehammer, but operating for 4 to 6 hours, standing on your feet, doing all these kind of different positions is pretty hard on your body. And I was having trouble doing that. So right now I'm in hiatus. I'm feeling better. I'm really not running, but who knows what the future holds.
What were some of those times in the last couple of years, your personal best times? And then you said you're not sure what the future holds. So what would you like the future to hold? So kind of a two-part question there.
I mean, I ran 11.7s, 11.8s for the 100 meter at 61, 62, and 63. I ran the same time last year as I did as 7 years earlier.
Yeah.
And that was the fastest time in the world that year for that earlier age group. So like in the last, it's crazy. The last 6, 7 years, I haven't slowed down very much, which I don't know what to attribute that to. All right. But the rest of my body hasn't kept up. You know, I can still do what I want to do for most part, but walking, if you can't walk, you can't go with your wife for a walk. You can't walk with your grandkids. You can't get on the floor and play with your grandkids. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So who knows? I'm feeling better now. I've told people I'm retired, but it's hard. I need to find a competitive outlet. I just love to compete. And I've always have loved to compete. Like I'll make a competition of anything. I'll make a competition of like, you know, anything. Like how long is it going to take me to do something in the operating room? How long is it going to take me to go from here to there? It just, that's the way my body sort of works.
So in hindsight, with some of these injuries and so forth, what would you have done differently, if anything?
Being an orthopedic surgeon, I probably was my own worst enemy. I don't think I did anything wrong. I don't think I didn't listen to advice, but I think I pushed the envelope, and maybe that contributed to something. Maybe it didn't. I mean, hamstrings are going to tear. That's just the nature of them. I did all the right things, and we have inelastic fibers and they become less elastic as we get older. So you put tension on them, and sprinting unfortunately generates a lot of tension. So what have I done differently? Maybe a little different type of stretching program in hindsight, but I just don't know. Like I never felt anything happening. It was like they're sudden injuries. Like you feel good, and then explosion. Like I remember exactly what I was doing. One was in a race, one was in the blocks, just stuff that you wouldn't expect to happen. And then crazy thing is I had these treated non-operatively, and I ran faster after they were done, or just as fast. So, I think I did what was right, but deteriorating backs, there's a large genetic component. My dad had a bad back, and I had an injury. Actually, I had an injury when I was bobsledding, and when I was 23 years old, and I think that was the harbinger or the forerunner to this whole thing. And then things just deteriorate over time.
Mhm.
And then I just go hard. Like when I'm training, I train hard.
Yeah.
Because I'm training because I want to be the best. And to be the best, you got to train hard.
You said you're in a bit of a hiatus. I'm pretty confident that's not going to last too long, but what are you doing from a training perspective right now, be it, nothing like you were doing before? And then also just in general, how do you approach diet and nutrition to keep yourself in shape? And especially now that you have pulled back a little bit on your activities.
It's a great question. And I have looked into a lot of these things. So I got my Peloton. I like doing anaerobic stuff. So I'm doing HIIT exercises, I'm always a big believer in high intensity stuff. I'm doing a good amount of walking now, like serious hill walking with a good heart rate, trying to get my heart rate over 130. Probably once every week to 2 weeks, I'll get on my manual treadmill and do some type of anaerobic work, anything like short stuff just I like to fire up my anaerobic system. I want to get my pulse up. I want to get my BP. Like I want to just excite my heart and excite my muscles. So I'll do that. Peloton that. I lift weights almost every day, some type of form of weights. I'm not like going heavy, no heavy bench presses. I'm not really squatting anymore. I stopped doing all that stuff because my back was bad. So stop squatting, stop doing cleans, but I'll do other leg exercises, bands, cable, stuff like that. So I'm maintaining my strength, and I'm maintaining most of my fitness. I'm not track fast right now, but I can get that back if I want to pretty quickly. I'm just not sure I don't want to get back to where I was last year. And I don't know if I can do one and not do the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think knowing myself, I'll probably risk it at some point, but I'm not sure it's a smart risk.
So how about the diet and nutrition?
I've always been pretty strict, I've always gone higher protein, lower carbs, lots of water. And I maintain that to this day. Intermittent fasting I started doing just because it was a natural thing to do. Like I don't need to eat at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't need to eat before I go in the operating room. I feel fine. I eat 11 or 12 o'clock, eat till 8 o'clock at night. The smaller feeding window makes it makes it easier to maintain. And I eat well. I eat very little junk food with the exception of potato chips, especially kettle chips, which I love. But it's not like I eating the whole time. I just have them around. But I've always been that way. So that's not a change for me. And I guess my metabolism is pretty good because I don't necessarily put on weight. And one thing I maintain is I try to maintain my flexibility to a certain extent, like yoga, but yoga irritates my back if I do extension stuff. And um, just general strengthening stuff. And always, a lot of ab work, a lot of core work. And the basis of keep a strong core, keep healthy. And the one thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's cause and effect, is I feel much better the last 3 months and I'm making a concerted effort to get better sleep. Like a real concerted effort. I've been reading about this and researching a little bit, and delving and stuff. And like sleep is it. I mean, it's applies to every bit of health, mental health, physical health, behavioral health, all that stuff. Sleep is it. I mean, sleep is where you recover. Sleep is when you form new synapses. Sleep is when you grow, when you learn. And we haven't given enough benefit to that over the years.
Give us your go-to track workout that maybe some of the rest of us could emulate if we want to get a little faster.
If you want to be fast, you have to train fast. So you can't not run fast or close to 100% in training if you want to be able to do that when you're racing. It's just impossible. I mean, I trained with Charlie Francis, and that was the thing he did. He had those guys. This is in the 80s, way before anyone was doing it. And he'd train the national team and say, like, today we're doing 3 super max efforts, and that's all we're doing. Now, they took 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. It was their job. But they trained fast and they ran fast. Now, they were supplemented with some steroids and some other stuff, but no matter what, they were still moving that speed. So train fast. My favorite go-to workout as a short sprinter is flying 30s. So it's really a 60 where you accelerate for 30, then you time your second 30, and you can see where you are. Like this time I did, okay, I'll give you an example. Like when I was 40, I was doing it at 2.7 for 30 meters. Now it's like last year, if I hit 3.1, I was pretty happy. So it's a big difference if you really think about it. It doesn't sound that much, but if you extrapolate over a race, that's a lot. So, but I think it's a great judge of pure speed. And if you're going to sprint, you have to work on pure speed. And pure speed comes from running fast. There's tempo stuff, there's recovery stuff, but if you want to run fast, run fast. And I think that, to do a good 100, you have to be able to run a good 150. To do a good 200, you have to be able to run a good 250. You don't have to go way over distance. And there's a lot of masters people that just train too much. I had this friend that I trained with that I met on the track. He was from Germany. He was living in Pittsburgh, working for Bayer. He was a guy who trained in the German system and very regimented training. And he was the opposite of the Germans you'd think. He always go to me, we'd be training, and I'd go, Ingo, we have another set. He'd go, Allan. He goes, less is more. And I went, you know what? For a master's athletes, that's probably should be the take-home message. Less is more. That extra rep is not going to help you as much as it can hurt you. Listen to your body, know that like we're almost put together to break. Like we're trying to do everything to avoid breaking. So if it's one less set and it gets you to go again, that's the much better way to do it. So if you start thinking like, this is hurting me a little bit, I feel a little tweak in my calf, my hamstring's a little sore, less is always going to be more.
What kept you motivated over the last few years when you were really pushing to compete? And then even what motivates you now to still continue, obviously, to exercise and keep yourself in great shape, even though maybe you're not going for that track record?
It's got to come from within. I've always been driven, I pass it on. Oh, one of the things I was getting to earlier is like you said, like what brought you back to running and getting to shape? It was like I trained with my kids when they were like, well, my three kids, they all played Division I sports in different sports. So they all worked out with me. My son played lacrosse and football and he'd work out with me and all his friends would work out with me. Like when I was like 40, I'd take them. I do strength and speed training for all the football players, like just on the side, just for fun. My daughter was a gymnast. They ran track. My youngest daughter played lacrosse and ran track. So we did all these things together and it was the family thing. And it's just like, it was a great example. It was a great example for them to try to emulate, to try to be with that. It was a great way to spend time together. And then it's just, it's just who I am. I don't think it's just who I am is the best way to put it. That's what motivates me. I just need we all need challenges to be better and to make ourselves better. And that's one of the challenges for me.
We're going to have a little fun for a second here, do some rapid fire questions just to get to know a little bit more about you. So I'm going to start off with an easy one here. What is your favorite color?
Red.
Any particular reason?
It's always been. I mean, that's the first thing. I have a blanket in front of me. I can see behind me. I'm in the basement of my house. There's a blanket that my grandmother sewed for me when I mean, it's probably 58 years old, and it's red on one side and orange on the other side. And it's right next to me.
How about entertainment? Would it be a movie, a Broadway show, or a concert?
I love Broadway shows.
We'll see what kind of adrenaline junkie you are. Would you rather high dive off a 3-meter platform, skydive out of an airplane, or scuba dive?
I scuba dived, dove. I've never skydived. 3 meters. I've done that kind of stuff, but I bobsledded, remember? So that's pretty adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
You know, went across. I mean, we got in bobsledding. You're running down a track running on the ice first at like whatever speed you can, full out sprint in a suit that's made of thin lycra in minus 30-degree weather, and then you're going down this course. So I've always had that little bit to me.
Yeah.
So I think skydiving is something I'd like to do, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to do it.
If I could give you this, would you take a mansion with some property out in the country, a lake house mansion, or the penthouse in a downtown area?
Lake house.
Lake
I
house.
like sports. I mean, my earlier days, I ran the lakefront program at camps. Canoe, paddle, kayak, that kind of stuff.
All right. Are you a reader? And if so, what's your favorite book?
I can't think of a favorite book, but I like historic nonfiction.
Okay.
And I do read.
So if you're going to chill for a minute, are you watching the news? Are you watching a sitcom? Or are you listening to a podcast?
So podcasts for me right now are to and from work, so I'm not doing those for chilling. Chilling for the most part is my wife and I find some series either on Netflix recently or on Hulu or whatever else. That's like I said, I have grandkids that live really close to us, and they're in our house almost every day. So chilling's when they leave. And when they leave, it's like 8:30 at night, and it's like, time to just watch a little bit of TV and go to bed. And again, like I say, I'm stressing my bedtime. So I'm trying to get I used to stay up, watch the news till 11:30, 12 o'clock. No more. I'm trying to get in the bed by 11:30, like 10:30, I'll sleep by 11 and up like 6:30.
All right. You're going to go out for a little dinner. Is it burgers, pasta, or steak?
Steak or fish.
Allan, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate you taking some time to let us know what makes you an autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to finish up here with just giving you a minute to address our audience and give us some final thoughts.
Never say quit, but know when to quit. And less is more.
All right, there you go. Allan Tissenbaum. He is definitely an autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.